Hi everyone, this is Fire Moon Transformations, and thank you so much for joining me today for my first official video on my new channel. I really appreciate you being here. If you end up liking the video and if some of this resonates with you, please hit the like button, comment, and subscribe to this channel for more content of this kind. So today we'll be looking into a very overarching question, potentially an intense question. What is your purpose in 2021? Of course, this video, if you happen to watch it later at some point, could also resonate with a different year, but for now, I think a lot of us are focused on the energies for 2021 and what might be happening. So we're going to be looking into these. I have 4 different piles for you. Please take a second to relax, maybe take a deep breath, get comfortable, and see which pile resonates with you the most. I have 4 crystals to pick from also. The first is a rose quartz. The second is aquamarine. Third is turquoise. And the fourth is sodalite. I'm also going to remove the crystals for those of you who have an easier time picking just based on the pile. Feel free, of course, to pause the video if you need to. Hi everyone who picked pile number 1 with the rose quartz crystal, and I'll be using the Influence of the Angels tarot. So what is your purpose in 2021? So before I get started, I'm just going to explain how this video is going to be structured. So before I get into the tarot, I will be picking an oracle card that corresponds to the energy that is most prominently affecting you, and inflecting and explaining to you what your main purpose is this year. So what do we mean when we talk about what your purpose is? Does that mean there is just one fated thing that you were meant to do in this lifetime, one highest calling that you have that you should embrace? Yes and no. Of course it means all of that, but it also relates to what you should be learning and how you should be looking at the lessons and the experiences that are coming to you into your life at this very moment, and how should you direct those energies for your very best interest. So purpose could mean very many different things in this context. Another thing I do want to mention before I get started is astrologically, I find that the North Node and the South Node are not discussed enough. So if you're interested in finding out more about the blueprint, the fated kind of aspect of your purpose, I really encourage you to do your full birth chart and to look into your North and South nodes. So I'm just going to explain it very briefly. In general, your North Node is the energy that you are fated to develop in this lifetime. So the sign in your North Node is always going to be opposite of the sign in your South Node. So you come into this lifetime, if you believe in multiple lifetimes, or if you believe in anything that suggests you might have had energy before coming on Earth, the idea is that whatever sign rules your South Node, all of the characteristics associated with that sign are going to be very easily flowing in your life, or you're already going to have those characteristics developed. So it's going to be very native to you. For example, if you are a Pisces South Node, it's going to be very native to you to be intuitive, to be freely flowing when it comes to your emotions, to be very giving, empathic, and so on. And if you have that South Node in Pisces, you would then have a North Node in Virgo, which means that you are called in this lifetime to develop all the characteristics associated with Virgo. So Virgo is also a sign that's connected to service and so on, but it is also one that does better with boundaries. So I'm not going to get into the details of that, but that was just one example. So I encourage you to take a look at your birth chart and figure this out along with this video afterwards. Maybe pause the video and do it before, whatever feels right for you. So with all of that said, let's see what main energies, astrological, otherwise, are affecting you this year. What are you called to embrace when it comes to your purpose? How is this, what is the main energy that is affecting you? What are you being called to embrace? Okay, so I got 2 cards here. Oh my goodness. As I was just talking about the North Node, I get the North Node card. Isn't that crazy? And I also get Jupiter, abundance. So what this tells me already from the beginning, oops, I'm just going to rearrange these for a second. What this tells me is that maybe a lot of you are fire placements or wonderful creators, very powerful creators and manifestors. Either that and or you are meant to receive a lot of abundance this year. Basically, the wheel is turning in your favor. And what clear purpose, what clear reading could this be for you? I sense that those of you who picked this specific pile are going to get a very powerful experience of this whole you being called to embrace a new energy, or to nurture an already existing energy that you have even further with this North Node here. The message is quite clear. As long as, and it seems to me that a lot of you who are, most of you who are watching this pile have already done so much work to figure out exactly what it is that you should be doing, what you feel most spiritually called for to embrace as your purpose. And this year you're going to get a lot of rewards for the work that you've already done. And it's a sort of I don't want to say necessarily celebration year. Jupiter is always the energy of expansion, of growth, of positive growth, of manifestation, right? So a lot of the things that, for obvious reasons, last year and maybe even earlier than last year were blocked, that you couldn't do, are going to be very, very available to you, way more available to you this year than in the past. So I'm just getting a very, very positive energy, and overabundant, kind of almost explosive energy here. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to pull some, I wrote down some little things that came to mind. I'm kind of clairaudient and clairsentient, so sometimes words that are very specific or odd or random come to me, and I just wrote some of these down before I started this reading. And these are, let's see if there's any specific areas of your life that come up in relation to how your purpose is manifesting, or what you're being called to embrace this year. So we got new cycles. Yeah, exactly. As I was saying, I think this past year for you, and healing, a lot of healing coming through for you. So you're kind of at the very end, at the close. I'm going to pull away maybe one more strip of paper. I feel like you should get one on the bottom. This one. Okay. And communication. That does not surprise me. It seems to me like a lot of you who are watching this, whenever you're watching it, have learned so much over the course of this past year or two or more. And you've already completed so many important Saturnian lessons. These past 3 years have been a very Saturn heavy time. So with Jupiter coming in, it is the ending of this cycle where all of these lessons felt like they were just too heavy to bear at some point. Like, when am I going to get what I've been, when am I going to get rewarded for all the work I've done? A lot of you have felt that you've done all of this really hard work in vain, and you were just kind of going along, taking one step at a time, just doing your kind of 8 of Pentacles daily work, and not really getting much beyond that. And because a lot of you, I sense, are very creative, or a lot of you have lots of interesting and unique and very, very potent ideas in whatever area of life. You're used to, most of the time, being able to focus on things other than the daily stuff and the things that might seem a little boring or mundane, and you tend to get very overwhelmed and very tired out by those daily mundane activities, right? But this year, all of that is going to change. So let's get into the tarot. How exactly are you being called to manifest the purpose of 2021 for you? How is this happening for you? What areas are exactly? The ending of an old cycle, right? A really difficult time is coming to a close with the Ten of Swords coming up first. It's a time when you're moving past this. So I'm just going to ask for 5 cards here and see. Ooh, hello. Yeah, first Ace of Cups coming in. So for a lot of you, this could be love. This could be something that felt unavailable to you in the past year or so. An energy, and just in general, I mean, because the heart is so prominent in this deck, I'm called to say love, but in general, I think this just relates to what I was just saying before, that you are someone who is a very expansive person, a very Jupiterian person, someone I would not be surprised if a lot of you have prominent Sagittarius placements, or you have lots of other fire placements, right? But you're someone who is very expansive and open and flowing in your energy, whether that means your creative energy or your emotional energy and so on, right? So this new cycle is going to allow you to be who you really are, and to continue, or to actually go back to being an even more wonderful version of all of that which you were before, but which, after all of these difficult lessons that you learned, maybe you had given up on embracing, or maybe you thought, oh, maybe the new me is not this expansive individual. Maybe I am just someone who is meant to just embrace the daily and the mundane, and to just be like everyone else, and to just give up all these crazy lofty goals and hopes that I have, because they're childish, or they're impossible, or none of that, right? So with the Wheel of Fortune coming here, this card is not always about, you're just all the fortune is yours and you're getting everything, but because it's coming from this Ten of Swords, and I talked about how there's so much Saturnian energy that was affecting you before, well, this is certainly a turn in your favor. So the wheel is turning in this new direction, and whatever new cycle is coming for you, it's going to be not only just, oopsies, that was a little bit too many colors over there. It's not only going to change, but it's going to take the energies that maybe might not have, that you wished were there in the past, and that you would have been very happy to have, but now they're going to be, it's going to be whatever you wish for, whatever you feel like you haven't had in the past year, that you struggled trying to manifest in your life, is going to come to you in a way that is so unexpected, or that's just entirely different than the way you had envisioned it initially. Okay, and we have Three of Cups. That's the one isolated card that fell out, right? So Three of Cups, yeah, celebration is coming. This is about you being able to get out there in the world, and maybe, post this vaccine and whatever, a lot more of us are going to be able to actually see people, and maybe to start traveling again, and so on and so forth. So there's definitely celebration and happiness and fulfillment coming through in your life. And because communication is here, you did get communication. It seems to me like you're going to make some new connections, some new very important connections this year, whether through a job, through some sort of learning related activity. But I'm really getting here creative endeavors, like maybe I don't feel like you're starting on a new project. You're continuing. You're finally able to go about the project that you had in mind before that maybe you were stopped to continue or to further develop in the past, but you're now actually able to do all the stuff that you weren't able to do before. So through whatever creative endeavor you've been already working on, you're going to find all of these wonderful new connections that are going to inspire you to be who you really are. You're going to find a lot of like-minded individuals who think as expansively as you, who think who have such a broad picture about life and what is possible. And you're no longer going to feel so constrained as you were in the past, where you were so close to giving up on these, or maybe not so close, but you were just kind of just putting those things aside, or just kind of locking them in an internal compartment deep within you because they were not manifesting, right? So what else do we need to know? Oops, and the Chariot. Yeah. So this is Cancer energy. And maybe that's significant to you. Maybe you are Cancer, you have important Cancer placements, but this is one of my favorite cards in the tarot deck. This is a card not only of, and I'm holding on to this additional card here, not only of manifestation and of victory, right? This is kind of the major arcana version of the Six of Wands. But it's a card about being in your power and being a synthesizer of energy. So whatever is coming your way, you're able to send it back into the world in the energy and in the shape and form that you desire. You're not someone who just takes energies for granted. You're not someone who just accepts things as they are. You are great, I want to say, shapeshifter, or a great kind of magician figure where you alchemize whatever is coming into your life. And this is a card that is all about that. You take, negative, positive, those are, a little perfunctory terms, but dark and light energies that seem very closed off and very flowing energies. And obviously in life, we always have to deal with a bunch of paradoxes and opposites and conundrums, but like maybe this past year, right, was antithetical to your expansive nature or who you were. But now, with this new energy coming in, this new celebration, this turn of the wheel in your favor, you are able to finally, it's the way I want to put it is, if before these energies which seemed antithetical to you and to your natural being seemed to be blocking you, now there is such an openness of energy that it feels that no matter what is coming your way, you're able to transform it into the exact energy that you desire to create. So let's say, it's all about, I'm getting a very strong feeling in the solar plexus and the heart. You're someone who is generally very creativity centered. So you're a great manifester, right? I'm getting that, obviously. I've said that many times. But now, and because in the past, maybe the energies around you, which perhaps in the long past, it always seemed that you were able to be that person, right? Be that solar plexus centered, creative person energetically, and to just do the thing that you want to do. And maybe in the recent past, like I want to say the last year or two, it seemed that everything was working against that energy of yours, that you've had to constantly constrain yourself in ways you didn't want to because it's not native to you. But now, regardless of what energy is coming in, you're able to deflect the stuff that just doesn't work with you or doesn't vibe with what you want to put out. So whatever energy is coming in, you're able to synthesize it into a whole new energy that is in the right kind of alignment with what you want to create and put out in the world. And with this communication card, like for a lot of you, I am getting that this has to do with some sort of teaching or leadership role or position, or yeah, like you now want to tell everyone about how wonderful it was to get through this time, to get out of the situation, to come out the other side. And we have the Six of Swords next, or you're moving out of this energy of constriction. You want to tell the world what it was like to find it, to find the kind of energy that is conducive to that kind of transformational alignment and direction, right? You want to kind of tell everyone about how you did this, because you want others to find the key that you found. And that maybe a lot of you don't realize just how important or just how potently you were able to figure this out or come into this understanding. Or maybe you don't realize how much freer you are to actually go about these things now, because you were so used to having to constrain yourself in this past period that but all of that is worth sharing with the world. So whether that means, I don't know, starting your own sort of spiritual business, I want to say, if a lot of you are interested in that or have those kinds of ideas, with healing being here, healing and communication. Yeah, you have more capability than you think. And I feel like a lot of you, most of you, I think, intuitively already know that you have these powers or these energies that are so beautiful and that are meant to be shared with the rest of the world. But a lot of you also feel like maybe this is not significant enough, or how would I go about that? Am I actually able to do that? And of course, the answer is yes, this is part of your purpose. If you were contemplating some sort of healing or teaching-based or mentorship-based or creative enterprise or business or a side kind of hobby or whatever it is, if any of you were contemplating something that has to do with this, then this is your confirmation that that is indeed meant for you, okay? So, yeah, at the bottom of the deck, we have the Fool, right? And the Hermit. So, yeah, this is definitely the start of a new cycle for you. This is, you are now at ground zero, so to speak, and it might not seem that way. We might feel like we almost have an energetic hangover from 2020, but that all is slowly starting to be part of the past. And because all of you are such great manifestors, I urge you, you know what? I feel like this year is going to be filled with so much intense energy and so much fast and forward moving momentum, that I somehow feel that this month, January, is actually, I don't want to say the last time ever that you're going to get to have a breather to yourself, but I think that it's going to be the most easily embraced time for you to reflect on things of the past, to tie any loose ends emotionally, spiritually, so on, just to, and even practical things, like if you, I don't know why I want to say this, if you owe anyone any money, or if you still haven't sent that one document or something, this is a great time, especially as we're in Capricorn season, to get rid of all the stuff, all the mundane stuff that before took up most of your time, no matter what you did, right? So this is a wonderful time to do a sort of cleanup. And let's see what your oracle cards kind of say. We have the Fates. Yeah. So whatever you're thinking of here, everything that has happened in your life was fated, and for you to come into an even stronger version of yourself. So whatever felt like it was constraining you before, like, why do I have to go through these lessons? I'm not someone who has to go through these lessons. Well, actually, the blessings and the abundance and the manifestation that you so desire and that is so native to you is going to come back manifold. It's just going to be multiplied, right? Oh, and look at that. We have clean it up. Exactly. What was I just saying? This is the time when this is it's a great little window of time. I feel like maybe the next 2 weeks from when you're watching this, it's a beautiful period to just get down to sit down. Maybe, I don't know if you do any journaling, if you enjoy writing lists, maybe take a look at the things that happened over the past year or two, or maybe year and a half, and figure out which of them you need to let go of. That's one important message. Whether that means detaching from them energetically, and which of them you still need, if you need to approach in a different sort of way. Another message I'm getting with this, actually, thinking about lists and thinking over the past and kind of putting together a jigsaw puzzle of past and present energies and seeing how all of these pieces, maybe it's too early to say this. I realize, look, I know nothing's going to change that drastically so immediately in 2021, but it feels I'm getting such an open, fiery energy for you, this group that I'm speaking to right now, that if you take this time right now to figure out how some of those, whatever pieces of the puzzle you have available to you right now about the past, if you figure out a way to put them together in a whole, it's going to be very helpful for you as you move forward with more momentum. And I also have the card Orphaned here. So yeah, I mean, you were feeling like you were alone in this process where all of this kind of abundance and this free-flowing energy was not necessarily taken away from you, but was just constrained from being the way it usually is for you, right? But because, you know, I've talked about how you're coming into being with so many interesting people, so many like-minded individuals, this is going to end. This cycle is going to end for you, and you're going to feel much more supported by everyone from all areas of your life, especially those who have the same kind of purpose, who share your purpose, who have this fate to be this beautiful, all-encompassing creator and healer and communicator and teacher. And we also have the Wizard of Awareness. It's an oracle card. And the message I'm getting with this, I'm getting two kind of things, maybe three things. The first one is that as an action-oriented person, this past year, you were kind of forced to be on the sidelines, and just sometimes you had no option but to just watch and just to sit there and get through your boring, mundane daily tasks, and that was basically it. But actually, some of the things that you've learned or that you've observed in this process were crucial for your growth. And a lot of those things are going to come in and be very helpful to you as you move back in a more momentous kind of energy. So don't underestimate the blessings, actually, of having gone through this time when you were forced to be a little bit still. And this goes also back to this Chariot energy. I don't know how to explain this, but it's almost as if after having been so still for so long energetically, being not able to go fully in the direction you wanted and manifest things exactly as quickly, as efficiently, as flamboyantly, as fabulously as you usually do, you actually realized, or maybe you're being called to realize now, that you didn't always need to be so forceful in the way you go about creating things, that there was actually a way where you can just sit back and be a little bit still and trust that whatever's coming out will come out in the way that it's meant to come out. And you can just sit there and, just hold those horses that go into the opposite directions. It's on that Chariot card, and the energies will actually manifest in an even more graceful way. So this very deep learning experience that you had, which allowed you to just simply realize how much there already is in an entirely still moment, and something that's, I'm getting like almost a snapshot, like a picture frame of existence. Like already there was so much moving life in that still picture that there didn't always need to be something dazzling or something, you know, explosive or bells and whistles kind of thing for it to be exciting, to be meaningful, to be creative. There was a sort of sacred fullness to the still moment, and being maybe a little bit forced to look at the world that way, you realized actually how valuable it is to just observe what people do, observe, yeah, how the grass grows. I don't want to say how the paint dries, but actually just observe processes and sit back a little bit and just let things unfold. And that's what I'm getting is for you, the main kind of way to approach this purpose, which is coming into being even more fully this year for you, or this kind of return to your native expansiveness, is to just let things flow. Just trust that all of the work that you've done in the past was not only not useless, but that now, after having been so put on hold, you can kind of synthesize your creative, fast, forward-moving native self with this kind of internal stillness and have both things at the same time. In that way, whatever you create will come out even more, I want to say finished for some reason. Sometimes working on things a little bit more slowly means you won't have to go back and do the same thing twice again, or to polish things as much, or to edit things as much. It feels almost like whatever you're creating now, you're able to just go for the final thing on the first try. And maybe that's a little bit of a dangerous advice there. I'm not saying rely on that too much, but you're coming into being as this person who is now able to do both things, to be both still and both forward moving. And that's a very beautiful energy. So to recap, this is a new cycle for you. It's a time of great abundance. Things are turning definitely in your favor, and it's going to be a time, it's going to be a beautiful year where if you embrace this updated, software update, I want to say, you 2.0 or 2.1.4 or whatever self, you're going to get so much more than you would have gotten before this time, before all these difficult lessons, before all of this constraining stuff that you had to go through. So that's all I'm seeing for you today. Thank you so much for joining me. Please share and like and subscribe, and I hope to see you here again. Bye. Hello and welcome everyone who picked pile number 2 with the aquamarine crystal. So before I get started and look into some of the energies that want to come through here in the tarot, I just want to explain what is going to happen in this video and meditate a little bit on the idea of purpose. So I'm going to pull an oracle card for you that signifies the main energies that are coming forth most prominently for you in relation to this purpose of yours that you are called to embrace in 2021. And if you are watching this sometime outside of this year, this video has also meant to find you, so keep on watching. So what do I mean when I say, what is your purpose? Is it a sort of fated thing that you were meant to do, that you're called to do? Is it something that you were meant to register as being your highest calling or your passion or so on? The reason why you're here on earth in this lifetime? Of course, it is also that. It is that. But it's also the ability that you have to take lessons and energies that are coming forth your way and making kind of the best of them, transforming them into something that is to your highest good. And of course, to the highest good of those around you as well, but primarily that benefit you at the very soul level. So before I get into the tarot, I just want to explain a little bit. For those of you, I feel like the North Node and the South Node, astrologically, those placements are not talked about enough. And I suggest that for those of you who don't know what your North Node and your South Node are, I suggest you make a full birth chart. Astro charts is one of my favorites, for example, and just look at those placements. So what are the North and South Nodes? So for those of you who believe that, who believe in past lives, or who believe that there's some sort of energy that surrounded you or your soul somehow before you came here on Earth, the South Node is associated, or it represents rather, the energies that you come into this lifetime with, that you already have developed, or that are already the most native to you based on lessons you've learned in the previous life, based on what you did there, or whatever else was involved if you don't believe in previous lives, right? So, for example, if you have a North Node in Scorpio and a South Node in, meaning the South Node is always going to be in the opposite sign of the North Node. So if you have a North Node in Scorpio, automatically you have a South Node in Taurus. Having a South Node in Taurus means that in this lifetime, it is very native to you to seek structures and comfort and stability and material things, and to be a little bit safe in the way you approach things. You perhaps don't like change very much. You like things to be how you know them, or you like to have a lot of control over your environment. Whereas the Scorpio North Node, which is the energy you're being called to embrace in this lifetime, is a little bit different. It's about delving into the deep and dark subconscious, and asking the bigger questions in life, and the less concrete things, getting to know the less concrete energies of the world and of existence. I'm not going to get too much into that. That was just one example. So if you don't know your North and South Nodes, I really suggest you take a look at that. Okay, so I'm just going to shuffle and ask, what are the main energies, or what is the main energy that's affecting you this year in embracing your purpose for this time? Okay, so I get part of fortune, increase. Okay. Oops, that is a lot of things. I guess I'm just gonna keep all of them because they all came out. We got the 10th house, the world. We have lunar eclipse, change. We also have Mars force. Okay. So that's very interesting. You know what? I'm going to do something that clarifies. I'm going to roll some dice about which areas of your life are these energies manifesting in. So we have the 12th house, which is ruled by Pisces. We have Venus, and we have Aquarius. Okay, so as maybe a lot of you do know, we have already come into the age of Aquarius. So massive change from the age of Pisces, right, to the age of Aquarius. This happened on the winter solstice, December 21st, 2020. So it seems that since that time, you've been called to kind of look over the energies of the past, and to see how they're synthesizing into your present, and how they're inspiring you to go forward. So I sense that for a lot of you, there might have been some massive change this year, maybe in terms of moving to a new home, maybe to a new city, maybe having a complete change of heart when it comes to something, whether that was, and I'm getting here 2 areas because Venus came up. And funny, I was talking about Taurus before, which is all about stability, and well, the 10th house, which is, of course, it's ruled by Capricorn, but I also associate it with all the earth energies. Has to do with a lot of environment related things, right? So maybe this year, and maybe that's why I chose that specific example to talk about, maybe it was relevant for you, where this past year, or maybe even year and a half or so, I'm not getting more than a year, there was a big change that happened in your life when it came to your physical existence and experience, and perhaps, and or as it had to do with one of your most significant relationships, since Venus also rules, of course, relationships, not just the environment and your experience. Before, I want to get a little bit into this part of fortune increase aspect, because that wanted to come through for some reason, and I'm going to take a look at my little booklet here. I have a feeling I know what that's going to be about, but I just want to get right. So interesting. The quote that's included here in this booklet is "Fortune favors the brave." Interesting. So in the last pile, it was a very different reading, and the first card that came through was Jupiter, but this energy is almost like another version of that, of a Jupiterian expansive energy. So of course, this time for you that felt so turbulent, like there were so many changes happening, maybe you felt that they were for the worse, or that you couldn't see the higher reason for why they were happening. Well, actually it was for your long-term benefit. So part of fortune increase, it is associated with 10 of Pentacles. That's what I wanted to check, right? So this is about your ability to conceptualize and perceive your karmic fortune and luckiness. So what do you think you are able to attract into your life? What do you think is meant for you? What do you feel that is that you are meant to receive in this lifetime, this year, whatever applies to you here? Seems to me that this port of fortune element that wanted to come through, it relates to your ability to trust yourself, that you are manifesting and attracting, and that you deserve, most of all, what you want, and the things that make you happy, and the things that give you security and comfort, and that make you feel alive, since we also have Mars force here. The things that fuel you to be your most creative self and your most spiritually connected self, intuitively and otherwise. With this lunar eclipse change, I think that this relates to the past mostly, but I would also urge you to pay attention to, I think it's May 26th, when the first lunar eclipse of the year is going to happen. So that might be a very significant moment for you. Oh, and then before I go on, another thing that I want to say about part of fortune is that it is also associated with lunar energy, even though it is a Jupiterian energy. I encourage you to Google this aspect if you want to find more about it. I am not an astrologer, although I'm very fond of astrology. It's about a time in your life when things flow more easily, and because it is associated with the moon, perhaps the moment when things start flowing in your favor again, in a way that's more, that's just easier, is going to come around that May 26th time. Not to say that before all of that it's going to still be difficult or anything like that, but just that maybe at that time you're going to reach a sort of apex, or your first moment of true concrete 10th world, right? Worldly blessing and happiness. And you know what? Before I go into the tarot, I'm going to pull... before I did this reading, I wrote down some words, some random words that came to me. I am pretty clairaudient and clairsentient, so sometimes really random words come to me. So what are maybe some of the specific areas of your life in which this purpose of yours this year is manifesting? Okay, and I got 4. Well, that's a little bit too many. We got 4 things. Interesting. Too many things. Calling, yeah. So for a lot of you, this might relate to some sort of idea or creative endeavor that you did not think was necessarily so easy to achieve in the past, or that was not maybe as concrete as it would have to be in order for you to invest energy in it. The other things we got are resolution and evolution and new cycles, which that thing came up in the previous reading as well. So yeah, this past year, whatever happened in your life that created some sort of change. And I think that for a lot of you, this may have been internal as well, where old structures just were no longer working, or not even that, where you had maybe some sort of spiritual awakening. I'm also hearing that, where you realized that part of your calling was to embrace things outside of just the worldly space, and to get to know the more esoteric energies that surround you. And this time is the start of a new cycle for you, where you're able to invite into your life blessings that do manifest in the worldly realm, because we have the 10th house here, but that you attract by working with energies, or by realizing that you have you have a say in how things come into your life. You are very commanding of your own energies, and you also have the power to attract specific things into your life that you really want to attract. Okay. And because resolution also came up, maybe a lot of the past energies that are related to this, it almost feels like you're coming to this point where you differentiate between your past self and your current self. There's going to be a time at the beginning of this year, especially I'm getting, when you're able to resolve some of these energies or integrate some of these energies and create a sort of continuous flow between this old and new self, or this old reality and this new reality, especially with this age of Aquarius. I'm getting for a lot of you, this has to do with energetic matters in general, but also with your ability to believe in and invest in a new paradigm altogether of existence. And whether this means investing in things that might seem not very compatible with daily existence or with the accepted norm, or whether that means finding that one specific thing, right? That calling, that very specific calling of yours that you might not have felt before, that was that it was socially acceptable, or that it was possible to achieve or to invest in this lifetime. Okay, so let's get into the tarot now and see what the specific energies are coming through for you. What is this new calling, or this calling that's coming through very strongly for you this year? What are you being told to embrace this year and to manifest? Oopsies. Oh wow, opening the reading with the Sun. How beautiful is that? And King of Swords. Pentacles, the universe, which is the world in this deck, the Knight of Wands, and I just want one more card. And the Chariot, wow, came up in the last reading too. I'm using the Moonchild Tarot. It's one of my favorites. I will have all the links to the decks below in the description box. So, starting off your reading, as you said, with this beautiful sun energy. I feel like it's drawing my attention to how the part of fortune card has a sort of orb here, just like the sun. So those are very resonant together. So certainly this new time, you're being called to embrace your ability to manifest what you really desire and your belief that you have that ability, right? So your belief that all of these beautiful blessings are actually meant for you. And at the bottom of the deck here, we have the Four of Swords, which I always associate with pandemic energy. It's a time of stillness, of just being in one place. And it feels like, and of course we have the Hermit right after this Justice card here, right? So maybe also think back to October. I want to say October 1st was the full moon in Aries. It's important to think back to that time and that cycle, because everything here, we're talking about new cycles, evolution, calling, lunar eclipse, change. So lots of moon and fire energy together. So we have Mars, which is associated with Aries. So we had that very intense kind of Aries full moon on October 1st. And it seems that whatever change or cycle or new cycle, new coming into being for you, whether that was some sort of change in your physical environment, in a relationship, or just your relationship to self, or how you conceptualize your environment, is related somehow to that time in October. And think back a little bit and reflect on what happened since. How have you changed? How have you evolved? How have you changed your outlook? Or on the other side, how might have a different outlook or a different perception of things have manifested in your life? Would there have been an easier way to approach this time in a way that gave you more happiness, more blessings, more, not just externally? I'm not talking here about gifts coming your way. I'm just talking about being in the present and realizing just how many things there already are there that are beautiful. So with the King of Swords, I'm going to clarify that a little bit, because this could be a person, or it could relate to you and your experience here this past few months. Oh, that's a bit too many cards. Goodness. Well, I'm going to take all of them. Seven of Pentacles, which is a card signifying patience, and Six of Cups, something of the past, and Two of Swords, right? So making a choice, and yeah. And when I was looking at this card, I noticed this person, this sculpture in this king's armor with this kind of feather coming out. It reminded me a little bit of Hermes, right? The Greek god of communication. So the idea behind that being messages and energies that are coming into you spiritually through the mental body, indeed, but in a way that's quite reflected in the physical. So as in, whatever is around you physically at that time is a manifestation of how you're responding to these energies that are coming your way, whether you know it or not, whether you acknowledge it or not, whether you work with it or not. So some sort of message or energy has been sent to you, has come to you, has surrounded you for the past, I want to say 6 months or so. And it's almost like this guiding inner voice, whether that's your intuition, your guides, angels, spiritual energy, whatever this means. It's something that in this specific deck, the Seven of Pentacles, you can see that you can see all the little orbs. We're back to the idea of orbs here that signify each chakra, but she's pointing to her heart chakra. So whatever message this was, which did come through to you in a sort of concrete, intellectual way, or not concrete necessarily, but maybe in an esoteric kind of way, was meant for you to register kind of the heart level, the emotional level, this very sort of inner quietness. This entire reading, I'm getting this sense of a veiled energy, of a sort of kind of glowing inner light, very blue purple kind of energy, where intuitively, you know what I'm talking about. If you focus on that inner feeling, that seems that it's not necessarily coming out of somewhere, but that is meant somehow for you to feel in order to register things around you in a way more vivid kind of way, is what I'm getting. You were maybe feeling, again, going back to that Four of Swords at the bottom of the deck, maybe feeling stuck, or like you were in a sort of closed off, encased box this entire time, like you couldn't do very much, or that simply maybe your creative energies were not flowing as easily as they were, or maybe you felt like your environment or your situation, your physical, worldly situation was not what you wanted to be, and you were just kind of stuck there waiting, like you were put on hold. And a lot of us have felt this, obviously, for the past year, right? But because the Six of Cups and the Two of Swords came up as well to clarify this King of Swords, this idea of you receiving or having internally already from within this message about what your calling is, or what you should be doing, or how you should be investing your energies into the world. It seems to me that you were at a crossroads, and this entire time, maybe I'm thinking, yeah, October to now has been a sort of threshold moment for you where you're stuck sort of between looking back and reflecting on the past. We also had the resolution strip of paper here that indicates that you were dealing with, yeah, a kind of synthesizing past energies and all your past selves, maybe. That's what I'm getting here. And choosing who you want to be, or where do you want to go next. How do you want to manifest those energies? It also, I'm getting the message here that a lot of you, this has to do with some sort of change in image, whether that means you're, I don't know, a performer or some sort of public figure, or just in general, how you present yourself to the world. And this does not just have to mean clothes or hairstyle or whatever, but it just means how you actually put yourself out there energetically into the world. So usually the Two of Swords is a very kind of stuck, blocked energy, but this woman here feels very empowered to me. She has the say on how things will progress next. Both swords are equally available to her. She could choose either direction, and either direction will be fruitful, and it will end up being the right one. There is no right choice here. Both directions will be beautifully unfolding. All she has to do is just choose which one resonates with her already existing energy, and or which kind of self-image seems to be the one that's most, or that's best reflected externally. So either, both, if it's more than two, but I'm getting the sense that it's choosing between two things here pretty strongly. Both will be totally successful and abundant, and will invite in this beautiful increase in blessings in your life, right? Feels like, yeah, that a lot of this past time with the Eight of Pentacles felt like you were just putting one foot in front of the other and not seeing this big picture, and not doing very much besides just the daily tasks, and you were wondering if you were getting anywhere at all. It seems maybe you were going through a sort of circuitous daily existence. But what I'm seeing here in this card is actually this path, this one step at a time path. If you look at the pentacles, they're getting smaller and smaller here, that they blend into the stars here. So these steps, these daily steps, these seemingly mundane daily steps are the path to divinity and to blessings and to beautiful, dazzling, glimmering energies that feel like they fill your heart with with joy and with just such gratitude for what's to come. So that was a time that was meant for you to experience that way, in order so that you could, going back to that idea of just admiring kind of the vividness of what there already is in the world around you, without you having to do necessarily anything else with it. And with the universe card here, which is the same as the world card, yeah, lots of Capricorn energy. I want to say that for a lot of you, this increase, this part of fortune increase, is being inflected in starting in January, and in May there will be a sort of change that makes it even more perceivable for the external world. So for you, this change will be registered first internally. It feels almost like this inward seed, going back to this Seven of Pentacles. You feel that there's this inward seed that you have, that you know that you were not only capable of making a choice in a new direction, but you know that any direction you take is going to be meaningful and supportive of you and abundant for you. You just, right now might not be exactly the time to act right away as you hear this message, but this seed, it's all about planting the intention and letting it simmer there for a little bit as you reflect on the endings of these new cycles, on all of these very beautiful internal, deeply internal changes that you felt within yourself for the past 6 to 12 months, and kind of also tending to those moments of resolution, or the situations and relationships of resolution, or that require resolution in your life, especially since, you know, this card is one that I've always associated with 2021 as well, the universe, as of the past years, right? So as you let these energies simmer in and kind of just, I want to say seep into your pores, that might be a little bit disgusting, but that's the way I'm feeling it. It's a very kind of fluid, slow moving, inwardly glowing, beautifully like dark purple energy I sense. It's very, I don't know why I said purple again. This really has to do with the crown chakra. So I suggest doing some crown chakra meditations, or just putting on a healing sound bath for the crown chakra, because this really, yeah, going back to that King of Swords here and the way he comes across in this reading, it's about simply allowing in that spiritual guidance, which is from your higher self, right? So that's the intuitive thing I was talking about, the inward thing, and also the reinforcements from your spirit guides, from the universe, that this is real, that this is meant for you to see, that this new energy that you feel so inwardly is actually meant for you to bring out into the world and to focus on it, because in this new paradigm, this paradigm shift that you've experienced both internally, and that's obviously happening around all of us right now externally, it is possible to make more concrete these energies, or not necessarily make them more concrete, but just highlight them, honor them more deeply, even on the earthly plane right now. So just meditate a lot in this time. If you want, do something that's very that encourages your state of flow, whatever that is, whether that's maybe journaling or exercising. I wouldn't say intense exercise. This is a time that also feels very healing for you, as it comes across to me. Doing something like yoga, tai chi, just going out in nature and observing, right, the lushness of the environment around you. It feels that the first, like, I want to say 2 to 3 months from this time that I'm speaking to you, even if things will start to gather more momentum to you, around you, it will still be a good time to, let's say if you have a very intense work day and you have a lot to get through, at the end of the day, allotting 2 to 3 hours or something like that for you to just sit there with the energies and let them just sink in, so that when the time comes in this shift, maybe around May, that's what I'm seeing for you, when the shift comes, for you to externalize this force, or to invite in the more physical manifestation of these blessings and these forces coming into your life, these new ones in this shift of internal shift of paradigm going externally. that you're able to be there and present and to not feel overwhelmed by it, right? With the Knight of Wands, this signifies a change in any direction, especially since in the world or the universe, this woman is looking to the left, my left, and this man is looking to the right. So again, we're kind of back to lunar and solar energies. I would not be surprised if a lot of you were Leos with water placements, maybe. And the final card coming through here in the tarot is the Chariot, one of my very favorites. This also came up in the previous reading, although this energy is quite different in this deck. This is very Cancer energy. So yeah, if I'm getting any signs here, it's strong, prominent Leo Cancer energies, and also a lot of Capricorn energy, if this means anything to you. Right, so with the Chariot here, she's just kind of allowing herself to bloom in this new being, or this quietly, beautifully transformed version of herself, where she does not have to let go of anything that was significant to her in the past, but that she's just allowing those past energies, right? She is reconfiguring them into herself in a way that honors her desire for change, or her need to be in a sort of different physical environment or shape, right? So she's just allowing those elements of herself to just kind of synthesize within her. Seems that under her cloak there is like stars, right? And it seems like a cloak that represents the universe, right? But everything around her is so ethereal and beautiful, and it's a very flowery, spring-like a version and iteration of the lunar energy associated with this, right? So she is allowing herself to be both the dark and the light, both the kind of, for going back to style, maybe the change of external expression, maybe wearing both edgy and very ethereal clothing, if that's a very specific example, just one example I could think of, right? But she's letting all these parts of her, whether that's something very material or something very ingrained, a personality trait, or something to do with different types of calling, right? Different purposes, different things that feel that you are meant to experience in this lifetime, and she's just letting herself be all of it, right? Okay, so let's just pull your oracle cards for the last part of this reading. So from the Wisdom of the Oracle deck, we have mending, building blocks, deep knowing, and blessed. Yeah, so a lot of the same messages reiterated here. And from which oracle is this? I am not sure. I have it around me. That's okay. It will be in the description box below. It's another Colette Baron-Reid oracle deck. We have making a choice. Look at that, exactly what were we talking about just now. And peaks of joy. Yeah, that's so beautiful. So a lot of the same energies iterated here with this make a choice card, whatever this choice, and I'm talking about this choice and I'm not giving many details about what it specifically is in the concrete, but if you're thinking about a choice that you've had to make or that you're considering, you know which one it is because it's the one that stands out most to you energetically as you meditate on it, right? So with this making a choice, as I was saying before, both paths, it seems like it's two specifically, are available to you, and both are equally beautiful. Looking at the portals there, the little doors, it's not that one looks threatening and the other looks joyful and so on. No, both are equally beautiful in just very different ways, right? So whichever one you make is going to be for your benefit. And in order to keep going on this path, right, with the mending and the building blocks card, right? So that's the idea of integration again. Maybe allowing yourself to feel everything that you need to feel before moving in this new direction. If that means, for example, making a choice between investing in a sort of relationship that was significant to you before and in letting go because it just isn't working anymore, rather than putting more energy into it, kind of just letting it go and allowing yourself, this is just one example, to just feel all the things associated with this cycle, this ending of that cycle. Or it could also mean, yeah, resolving some sort of dilemma or some sort of conflict in a relationship, which is to your benefit, right? So resolving this conflict is going to be helpful to you on this new path, rather than holding on to whatever resentment or negative or darker energy that there was involved there. Actually, you might be pleasantly surprised how resolving this conflict will help you on this path to evolving in this very beautiful spiritual creative direction. And with the cards deep knowing, blessed, and peaks of joy, yeah, with this deep knowing card, that's exactly the thing I was talking about. I'm definitely drawn to that purple pinkish side of the moon there, right? So that idea of this inward glow, this inward quiet but prominent glow within you, that feels like it's the thing that gives you the most kind of hope and excitement. I'm feeling it in the kind of throat chakra here as I talk about this. So the throat to crown chakra, related energies, it feels that you know, whatever this is for you, it's a sort of, it's such an intuitive thing that there are no words to express it, almost. But you will be helped along the path. There's so much support around you in taking these small steps towards this goal. And there's so much that you can, so many blessings, right? Peaks of joy, blessed, part of fortune, increase, sun. There's so much just shining, glimmering energy around you right now. And you have 22 and 33. Look at that. If you've been seeing double, triple numbers, this is just further confirmation of that. It's a very spiritual nudging in the right direction. So whatever this is that you have in mind, this choice, this new endeavor, creative endeavor, so on, this thing that feels like this very internal calling to you, this is your purpose. This is what you should be focusing on in 2021. Although there are two kind of messages, right? Two parts of the reading. The first, I was focusing on how whatever you focus on, that's what you invite in, right? So believing in your ability to invite in blessings and believe in the fact that you are worthy to receive all of these beautiful energies. And second, just allowing yourself to sit with whatever is coming through to you energetically, letting it simmer so that when time comes to move forward with this very Mars-like force, you are able to do it in a way that does not kind of violate your inner peace or your or just your awareness of self and your sense of wholeness internally, right? Okay, so those are all the messages that I have for you today. Thank you so much for joining me. If any of this resonated with you, please click share, subscribe to the channel, make a comment, like the video, and I hope to see you here in the future. Thanks so much. Bye. Hello and welcome to anyone who picked group number 3, which is that beautiful turquoise crystal. And before I get into any of the tarot or the oracle, I'll just go through a few overarching things. I'll begin the reading by picking an oracle card that represents the energy that is most affecting you in relation to your purpose. But before I even do that, I just want to go over and meditate a little bit on the idea of purpose in itself. So what do I mean when I say what is your main purpose in 2021? And again, if you're watching this sometime past this year, then you're of course also welcome to be here. Whenever this video finds you is the right time for you. And some of these messages will still be relevant then. But what is this thing called purpose? Is it this thing that's supposed to be fated in your life, that's supposed to be the main thing that you invest your energies in and bring forth into the world? Is this thing that's premeditated or predestined for you? Is it your highest calling, the thing that you are inherently meant to do? Of course it is all of these things, and that's kind of what we're called to think of when we think of purpose. But it is also the way you react and end up responding to the lessons, to the experiences that you get in this lifetime or at a specific point. It's simply the way you react to everything and the way you make these energies, whatever they are, that come into your life, get them to support your best interest, or the way you make the most of them, whatever is happening, whatever situation is happening in your life. Or how do you use whatever energies are available to you concretely at that very moment in order to make your desired outcome or future or situation come into being in the near or far future. And before I go on and read specific energies for this pile, I also want to mention that, in my opinion, I think the North Node and the South Node in astrology are not often talked about enough. And if you don't know what these are for you, I suggest you do your full birth chart and you take a look at those placements. AstroCharts is one of my favorite websites that is really helpful in seeing all the potential aspects of your birth chart very clearly. So what is the North Node and the South Node? Well, whatever you believe in, if you believe in past lifetimes and the idea that maybe before you came on this earth or you were here, there was some sort of inherent energy or blueprint to your soul or surrounding you. The idea is that whatever sign is in your South Node, the characteristics associated with that sign are the ones that you already have developed and coming into this lifetime, either through passing some sort of karmic lessons and making the best out of them in a previous lifetime or whatever, or just inherently those are your natural instincts that you tend to take on whenever you're faced with any important situations in life or just in general in life. So for example, someone with a South Node in Gemini tends to be very analytical, very knowledge-based, very concrete knowledge-based, very much into their mental body, right? And meaning that their North Node, and North Nodes are always going to be in the opposite sign astrologically from the South Node, they are being asked in this lifetime, they're being prompted to embrace Sagittarian energy, specifically things associated with spirituality, with higher learning, with more esoteric energies, with intuition, so on and so forth. This is just a very, very crude summary of that, and that's just one example. But point being, if you don't know your North and South Nodes, please take a look at those. Maybe pause the video, maybe look into those after you watch this. And yeah, without further ado, let's get into this reading. So as mentioned, I'll pull an oracle card first. Then I'll pull some little strips of paper of specific aspects that just came to my mind that might show a specific area of your life that's being highlighted in relation to this energy that's surrounding your purpose for the year 2021. And then I'll get more oracle cards for you. So for now, what are the main energies surrounding your experience of purpose for this year, for 2021, or for the next year from whenever you're watching this? What are the energies underlying your current purpose right now? What are you being prompted to embrace for pile number 3? Everyone who picked this. What are the main astrological energies? So we have Chiron, healing. We have the 6th house, routine. See, oops, wow, that's pretty much a lot of them. I'm just going to take the one that came through here. Okay, So Sun, Spirit. I would want to take more of these cards, but let me just take a look at them. The other ones that popped out were Jupiter return benefits. So you know what? I'm just going to keep this out here because who knows? For some of you, you might have a Jupiter return. I'll put it on the side here in case that's actually a thing that is relevant to you. And I'm going to keep the 12th house here just because the other card that fell out is fire element, desire, and that's already encapsulated in the sun. So I'm just going to leave it at that. So a Jupiter return for those who actually have that going on at this time. That just means that the planet Jupiter is in the same placement as it was when you were born. So I actually don't know. Wait a second. I think Jupiter is in Aquarius right now still. I might be wrong. I'm pretty sure it's still in Aquarius right now. So if your Jupiter is in Aquarius, that means, yes, you have a Jupiter return right now, and that's just reinforcing that. But if it's not, if your return is not happening at this time, then take a look again. I would just suggest Google dates for all the signs in Jupiter. They're usually, you come across some spreadsheets, and you will see when Jupiter returns to the sun, the sign that it rules, or that rules it in your chart. And for some of us, I think mine is in like 2023, I'm not sure. So depending on the date of that, this message will resonate for you for this entire period of time that leads up to your Jupiter return. And the Jupiter return in general is a very, very beneficial transit for everyone because Jupiter is the planet of expansion, the planet of blessings. And you know what? Actually, for this pile, this is the third time I see Jupiter energy represented. The first one was just Jupiter. So you might want to take a look at the first pile as well, especially if you find that this does not necessarily resonate with you. But in any case, all of the piles to some degree indicated Jupiter energy. So what I'm sensing is that just at the beginning of this new cycle, this new year, for a lot of people, it is bringing up energies that that were blocked before, that could not be acted upon until this very moment. And I feel what I'm sensing is that the first half of this year will be spent, especially for this group, since you have Chiron here. And I wish I had checked it out before to see where Chiron is right now. Maybe it's, I don't want to say anything, I'm going to be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that Chiron was associated with Aries for a lot of the time this past year, which means that there might have been a lot of healing for those who are Aries natives or very fire-based people, or the so-called divine masculines, which of course can mean any gender and any gender expression. Just whoever has more prominent Aries-like placements in their chart. So yeah, for a lot of you in this pile, I'm getting the sense that the first half of this year will be spent kind of getting the foundation ready for you to receive all these benefits, these blessings, these Jupiterian blessings that will be coming into your life anywhere from 6 months to when your Jupiter return actually is. And if your Jupiter return already passed, then don't worry about it. This is just a reinforcement that those energies will continue and that they will transform into a new form of benefit or blessing. And that because the sun came through here, that you have a lot, that these will be coming to you very directly, and that you have, I don't want to say a lot of control over them, but as long as you do all this healing, and you have the 12th house there and represented by Pisces, as long as you do all of this healing and you tend to those remaining, not necessarily loose ends, but just being very kind to the corners of your heart and soul that have not maybe gotten as much nurturing and attention and just kindness, is going to be very beneficial for you. And I suggest you do that over the next, especially I want to say the next month or so from when you're watching this. So let's pull some of these little strips of paper here with very specific aspects of life that might be highlighted around that time for you, and I'm a little bit clairaudient and clairsentient. Sometimes just words just come to me, and I was just writing some of them down before I was doing this reading. So you have founding, which is very interesting. It's kind of a random word. Sometimes, yeah, I just write down very random things. So founding. This has kind of a double meaning for me. You might be starting a new business right now. You might be contributing to some sort of structure to something that you've been wanting to manifest for a long time. And now finally it is possible for you to invest in those kinds of concrete energies. Or if you just kind of ignore, if you think of this as found, it's almost like you're refinding different parts of yourself and reassembling different parts of yourself that you might have thought were lost, or that might have haven't been hidden in certain corners, certain unwatered, unlit corners of your heart and soul. So those are the two of the messages I'm getting there. Let's see if there's anything else. I feel like drawing. Okay, I think I got these two. That's all I'm feeling for you. Business, yeah. So as I was just saying, for a lot of you, this is going to be a very good time to start or to continue a business or to resume some sort of business situation. And I also got apartment. So maybe this is also a time when you are able to move to a new place, or to get to change for the better your dwelling or your physical environment. It does not have to be limited to a house or to an apartment specifically. I just wrote that down when I heard it, or rather felt it. Wonderful. So lots of material blessings in relation to your creative power. You're very, very much capable of manifesting these things into your life. So if you have been trying to gather or to attract better security in those areas, this is a wonderful confirmation that these are coming your way, especially with this Jupiter return here. Could not be a clearer reading. And that throughout this time, the best thing you could be doing is tending to your inner needs, your inner emotional, spiritual needs, being very sure and trusting the fact that your outer needs will be met and that they will be coming into being. So let's pull some tarot and see exactly what this has to do with. Actually, let me clear that a little bit. So what is your purpose for 2021? And the way I'm seeing it now, it is to find and invite in and trust greater stability in your physical life, and to trust that you are worthy to receive all these benefits, and also to complete some very important, deep, beautiful healing that you might have either been working on already, or maybe struggling with, or that you might not have, that might have caused you some sort of, might have reinforced this period of time that felt a little bit constrained for you. So let's see, what is, for this group, what is your purpose for 2021? How is it coming across? What are the benefits? 10 of Pentacles. I am so not surprised that that's coming through. 10 of Pentacles, which indicates abundance of all material sort, and followed by the Hermit, 6 of Cups. Yeah, more 6 energies and water energy, excuse me. 7 of Pentacles, which came up in I think every reading. Goodness. So, and 2 of Cups. So there might be a significant relationship as well, or as a sort of a unification between 2 different parts of yourself. I'm also feeling here between emotions and practical matters. And a Queen of Coins. Yeah, closing your reading, we have quite a lot of Pentacle energy, 3 Pentacle cards, 6 Cups, and 2 of Cups, so 2 water cards. And at the bottom of the deck, we have the Chariot, which also came up in every single reading. So a lot of 7s, which indicate spiritual growth. And I think that's the theme for most of these. Of course, the very theme itself, being related to purpose, is to some degree related to spirituality. So right now, you're in a place where you're very capable of embracing your power and moving forward in in a way that that takes account of all the things that have happened over the past, I want to say 1 to 2 years for you. Yeah, you have had to walk away from something that maybe felt like the most secure thing for you at the time, and you've kind of had to go on a sort of exploration of less concrete matters, more spiritual things, more maybe a sort of awakening of some sort. It's a bit of a contentious word, but feeling basically opened up to the sort of energies that might not have felt the most comfortable at first. So, but the way this is leading is towards a sense of ever greater security. So all of the things that you did have in the past, maybe of some sort of structure that was important to you or that gave you security or financial solidity, sort of crumbled this past year. Or maybe you invested in something business-wise that did not go as you had hoped, or that there were so many promises that was going to go exactly your way, but it did not. Well, this time when that structure fell apart was for a very important reason, and it's because there's a new, even more important and more beneficial and beautiful and abundant structure that's supposed to replace it. Nothing is lost. It is, think about it as you're just rebuilding. Like if you were to renovate a very old historic building, and that building may have been beautiful and a historic landmark, but it was falling apart, right? And you kind of needed to patch things up and go back to the blueprint and make some really concrete plans, maybe consult an architect, so on, a spiritual architect, whatever, a practical one, or a financial advisor maybe, right? But now with all of this new knowledge that you've gained over the past year, it is going to be very easy for you to invest in something that will grow in the long term even longer. So we have the sun here, and this is again confirmation. Look at how many beautiful doublings we have. You have the sun. This is leading towards something that is perhaps the greatest manifestation thus far in your life, in this area, in this material business related area. I think that's where I'm going to stop at the bottom of the deck. Yet in your life, this might also indicate that you are now able to be in a leadership position that you might not have been able to be in before, and that is going to help you with this, with rebuilding these structures, right? This is also an indication of Leo, very strong Leo indications. I want to say Leo, Pisces. Well, Virgo is also represented here, right? So Pisces, Virgo. We have the Hermit card, which represents Virgo, and that's what I'm feeling the most prominently here. So if those signs mean anything to you, if that's a big placement in your chart, that's just further confirmation. If they don't mean that much, then that's also okay. So as I was just saying there at the bottom of the deck, so first thing represented here, Ten of Pentacles, legacy, family, roots, not in a kind of Cancerian way, but more in a Capricornian way. It is Capricorn season when I'm filming this, and ending your reading is Queen of Coins, which represents Capricorn, right? So investing in all the things that support any higher callings, right? So if one of your higher callings is to be embracing and getting to know more esoteric energies, well, you of course also need some sort of material worldly security in order to be able to do that, or in order to have the ability to invest in a more creative based activity, whether that's a hobby, a job, or anything of the sort. Not saying that artists, I am one myself, cannot make a living purely on that, right? But the point being that this is the purpose right now of your life, is to be sowing those seeds, to be planting those seeds, but to make sure that before you hope for and invest in and try to manifest the fruits of those structures and those benefits in life, you actually put in all the necessary work and took all the potential practical steps, even the most mundane ones, like if you're buying a new home, you know, making sure, or if you've already bought a new home, making sure to to take care of all the little things, like if there's some critters in the walls or anything like that, or if there's an asbestos issue, or becoming very careful, just being very careful about dealing with those issues and solving them early on so that they don't become issues that grow into bigger things that prevent you from reaping the fruits of those labors, right? And this past, I want to say, year, 9 to 12 months, you might have spent, as a lot of us, this is the major arcana representing for me and for a lot of readers, I think, the pandemic, right? So being isolated, being stuck at home, being just in a sort of, for a lot of us, enforced, just self-questioning. But a lot of these things, as I was saying before, like if there were projects put on hold, or if there were foundations that crumbled, or if you couldn't get that new apartment or that new home or whatever, that time was actually very useful for you to get to know certain things. Like maybe you found out that the place you wanted to move to is actually not the ideal place for you to live in, because maybe the job that you thought you would be in did not come through, or maybe you didn't end up liking that job and you switched it out. So basically this delay was to your benefit, and it seems to me like there was some sort of information that did not come through before that was meant for it to come into your life during this period of suspension, and that was all to your benefit. So think back to the things you've learned this past year, both the spiritual things but also the practical things. I'm getting it's a very practical Capricornian reading, this one, despite Jupiter being here prominently as well. The idea being that all the things, all the most mundane things that maybe not you don't enjoy, that no one enjoys that much unless, you know, you're one of those people who really likes like doing taxes or something like that, and that's also fine, right? I oddly wanted to do my taxes early today, and I found out that my W-2 form was not yet available, so I'm early for once in my life. Weird stuff. But anyway, those things are actually they're adding up to something very important. They're just one little step at a time. This kind of Eight of Pentacles energy, just doing the mundane and everyday. Actually, a lot of the things that you've had to invest in like that this past year, they were to your benefit. And now think back to all of the stuff that you learned, and they're very applicable starting in this very moment. Okay, coming up next with the Six of Cups, that's you also have plenty of sixes represented here with the sixth house of routine, right? So going back to the idea of the everyday house ruled by Virgo. So the things, this to me talks about being able to synthesize, or to balance out, actually, to balance between tending to all these practical needs that I'm talking about, the long-term, the energy that you invest in extremely long-term things that are to your benefit for the larger structure of your life, of the rest of your life, actually, and between tending to your soul, right, to your heart. I'm sensing, like, I wouldn't be surprised if one of you who's listening has very strong oppositions between Cancer and Capricorn here. This kind of, this conflict between wanting to tend to all the legacy related things, right? Because Capricorn and Cancer do the very same thing, but in opposite ways, right? Whereas Cancer goes about things, and I'm talking about Cancer because that Chariot at the bottom of the deck goes, thinks about home and family and very, in very emotional ways and sentimental ways. Six of Cups is about looking towards the past. Cancer is the sign most associated with the past. Capricorn is most associated with the future, right? So this talks to me, especially with that Chariot, about you needing to find a way, or just not needing to, but just tending to refining the balance in your life between the emotional and the sentimental, and having that kind of sweet healing downtime, like every day of your life, like, you know, after you have a crazy day at work, whether it's over Zoom or wherever it is these days, and, you know, just having complete quietness, or just being in the dark for yourself and away from all glaring screens and whatnot, and even from noise and hearing. It's about It's about having very high quality silent time. So creating for yourself a sort of nurturing balance where, you know, you work hard, but you also rest really hard. And it seems to me that this next, I want to say 1 to 3 months of your life, the momentum is going to pick up slightly more afterwards, and towards the end of the second half of the year, it's definitely going to come into motion more so. So taking whatever time you have, like I think a lot of us have learned during this pandemic that enforced downtime, like, you know, how many of us wished for downtime in the past, or for having the opportunity to just sit there and do nothing, right? But that of course became so oppressive for most of us, for a lot of us, even those of us who love being alone and spending time tending to those spiritual things, or to just being self-reflective, just being constantly checking in with energies and so on, right? But this idea that even if you had the time necessary to, if you had all the time in the world to do this and this and this and this, actually, do you have a blueprint for achieving it, right? Because the 6th house routine is here, and we talked about blueprints, house blueprints before, and here is blueprint of the human body. Do you have Da Vinci, obviously? Do you have the right kind of tools and the right formulas, I want to say, for tending to everything from body to soul to work, right? So it's about finding that balance between these two, and that means figuring out what works best for you in the everyday, in the routine, so that, you know, after 8 p.m. or whenever, there's absolutely no work, no emails. I don't care if it says emergency, you know, just putting that down, putting the phone on do not disturb, all of that, and creating that balance for yourself, that sacred balance between the soul and the worldly realm. So with the 7 of coins here, it seems that, yeah, you were just so exhausted this past year, maybe trying to maintain structures that were meant to fall apart, or maybe, I don't want to put it that way, that's a little bit too violent, but in absence maybe of the structures that fell apart for you this past year, that were no longer there in the way that they were in the past, you felt very burdened and very, very pressured to maintain some semblance of normalcy, right? Where it felt that there was something to hold on to, as there was in the past. But that kind of, I don't want to say artificial investment in creating a structure may have been, it was extremely exhausting for you. So the message I'm getting here is that there are 2 ways to wait for better times, or not to wait for them, but just to allow them to come into your life. With this Jupiter return here, I'm getting the sense that for a lot of you, this return is in the future, in the near future. There's 2 ways to allow for them to come into your life. One is to just struggle and, you know, watch the water boil as it happens, and one is to just kind of just forget about it and trust that that seed that was planted is growing, and that the nutrients of the water and the sun and whatever are nurturing it, and that it is there and it's happening and you don't have to control it. This idea about you being in your power as you create this new iteration of foundations and structures, that also means knowing that you don't always have to be there, you know. Being kind of the overlooker of your life does not actually mean, you know, breathing down the neck of all of these energies coming into your life or just existing in your life. It's also just trusting. I'm also getting the weird idea that you have like little clones of yourself doing different things of life. Like here's the practical, I do my taxes self. Here's the, I devote energy to my passion side. Here's the, I'm just enjoying my downtime self, and here's my like relationship self, or my fun friendly self. So just trusting that whenever you're not doing one of these other activities, the other little parts of yourself that are concerned with it are just constantly working or constantly attracting the best energies into those areas of your life, and you don't have to always control them. Same goes for external energy coming in. So with the Two of Cups here, yeah, that's just strengthening to me the idea of the balance between soft and beautiful energies in your life and the more emotional based things, and the practical and the physical. So I'm just going to actually pull a clarifying card for that, because that could also indicate some sort of partnership that is meant to help you bring about the best manifestation of these structures and this kind of security. Oh, hello. Okay, wow, major Leo energy. Okay, so we have like basically 3 cards representing Leo if we count that sun that I talked about at the bottom of the deck. So we have the sun card here, right? So if you're a Leo, that's you. And look at that Ace of Wands at the bottom of the deck too. So we have the sun there. We have the other sun. We have the Strength card and the Queen of Wands card. So this could represent you, definitely. I'm really drawn to this horse and the Strength card. So once again, I'm not sure why, but most of these readings have had intense Leo and Cancer placements. So just noting that. So this partnership, I think there is someone here that is connected in some sort of way with you bringing about this new cycle of your worldly purpose, your physically oriented purpose. And this person could very well be someone you're connected with romantically. It could be, I don't know, I'm really drawn to this Queen of Wands self. It is someone who is incredibly in their power, incredibly strong, a very reliant personality, but also a little bit like they're fiery, but they could also burn you a little bit. So someone who is extremely passionate and a little bit just relentlessly goal-oriented, maybe perhaps Sagittarius energy as well. So this person, whoever this is in your life, maybe if they're about to come into your life, they will be or already are a great support. They're meant to be there for you as you balance these different parts of your life and as you invest in these very long-term energies, which could be very difficult, right? So Strength is a card of endurance again. So again, I almost think that this card represents you, and this card represents kind of like this supporting force person. I'm not getting the sense that this is it's very much someone you know already or will come into knowing very soon. It's not like a spirit guide or anything like that. No, it's very much a person. And you're this human who's very, very strong, right? And very resilient and very practical and just very reliable. But you often take on too much of this responsibility and you internalize it in a way where you don't realize how heavy these burdens are that you're carrying, or how much this responsibility weighs on your shoulders. And this person is actually someone who they're very much similar to you, but they're not but they have perhaps, I want to say, they don't get affected as much by small things. Like if there's some sort of disagreement at work or whatever, they would never take it personally, whereas actually it affects you a little bit more emotionally than you think it does at first. So this person is there for you to help balance out those parts of your life that that might be causing you extra stress that's not needed, okay? And this could very well be romantic as well. And if there's no one in your life that sounds like that description, I'm just going to pull a Romance Angel Oracle card. I think it's Romance Angels. Sometimes I forget what these are. Just so I can see what this relates to, explain the Strength, Queen of Wands cards, already explaining the Two of Cups. What does this refer to? Is this anything romance related? Hello. I'm just gonna, oh wow, pick the ones that flipped over first, because I can't do too many things. So we have very conflicting energies here. We have new love, so you might already know this person, right? Or this might be someone you have been separated from, coming back. And it also says it is safe for you to love. And the way I'm interpreting that message, because Yeah, I'm getting the sense that for some of you, it's slightly smaller, a smaller group. This does relate to romance, to someone new coming in. But if it's already a person you have in your life, then it's most likely someone who's just a very resilient friend or just colleague or just a very important connection for you in this lifetime, right? And the card is safe for you to love. Open your heart to give and receive the highest energy of all. The way I'm interpreting it in the context of this reading is, right, that's the thing, right, where you, or it's kind of a double-edged sword, right? In order to be able to have the safety to open up, you need the structures, the concrete structures, and the stable structures to do so safely, right? So, you can't feel emotionally open and flowing if everything is falling apart physically around you, right? And the other message is that, it is time for you to devote more energy into caring for yourself, into pampering yourself. Just give yourself a bath, something nice that you enjoy. Lots of bodily oriented healing here, very physical healing with these cards. I'm just connecting this now with Chiron and 6th house. You could also, the other thing I'm just realizing, you could also be a Virgo who's very, very much Virgo-esque in the sense of being focused so much on service for others and on doing your job perfectly and being relentlessly supportive and just on top of your game when it comes to everything, and always, like, answering every single email you get, even if it's like midnight, right? So this is the message I'm getting, is that spiritual, emotional, and physical things are always reflected in mirror-like ways. So whatever's happening emotionally will take a toll on you physically if you don't tend to it, or if you don't give yourself enough space, right? And with the Queen of Coins or Pentacles, I already kind of talked about her in relation to the Queen of, or to the 10 of Pentacles, right? So funny that this energy is constantly juxtaposed here with the 12th house, which is Pisces again, and more earth energy here. I'm also getting the message that perhaps with the help of this partner in whatever way, or this new connection in your life, whether it's a new one or an old one, you might have the opportunity to engage in activities that you might have thought maybe self-indulgent, or just things that you just never would have been able to do, even if that was as simple as like giving yourself a homemade spa day or something like that, because you trust that they also have your back and that they're able to contribute with support in your life in very practical, physical ways. So that's also supposed to come into being into your life over the next year, and starting much sooner than that, right? But this is about the next year from when you're watching this. Okay, great. So I want to end this reading with some oracle cards. Any advice for you? Let's see. Any advice for you for how to channel your purpose? Hello. And this next year. So we get the beautiful card, Serendipity, which is one of the most wonderful cards in this deck. The, what is it called? Oh my god, why can't I remember the simplest title sometimes? The simplest name is Wisdom of the Oracle by baron-reid. All my decks are listed down below in the description box. So this is one of my favorite cards in this deck, Serendipity. That's just a wonderful confirmation of this Jupiter return thing. It's just something beautiful and positive and unexpected coming into your life, whether that's a sort of gift or whether that's, I'm getting more the sense of opportunities aligning, situations aligning for you, so that certain things that you wish for the most are able to come into your life, whether that's, that purchase of an apartment or home, certain things just lining up exactly in the way that was needed for that to come into being. Whereas, even the smallest change to those circumstances would have made it impossible, right? So this is in your favor. There's going to be at least one significant, just beautiful thing coming into your life that will make you feel so grateful, and that will just give you so much joy. And oh, of course, I'm not surprised to see this loyal heart, right? So you are so supported in this process of, and the third card I got here is flexible, right? And you're so supported in this process of flexibility, of learning how to be able to balance those two sides of your life that I've been talking about here. There is someone who really, really cares for you, and of course, there might be many people who care for you, right? But there's one specific person who is going to be there for you throughout this time, and who is never going to let you down, and who's always going to have your back. And you can just trust them. This is just a confirmation that you are able to, you should be able to trust this person with your whole heart. It's just a very, very beautiful energy. This could indicate, again, soulmates of all kinds, whether that's romantic, whether that's friendship, whether that's family, even a coworker or a partner, a business partner, right? But this person has your back, and they have your best interest at heart, and you're kind of two wholes of the same half in this specific area of your life. And you also help each other integrate opposed or juxtaposed parts of your life that maybe both of you are trying to balance out, right? And basically anything that's happening in your life that you feel, you kind of sense your tendency to go back and control things a little bit more, or to just go back to your usual ways. I'm getting this sense that you're very dependable, very practical, and careful about all the practical things in life. It's just about just knowing that you're able to let go, so you don't ever really need to go into that mode where you're just always the overlooker to every single aspect. Like, you can trust that those around you are actually working with you, and that things are falling into place exactly in the right way, inwardly and externally in your life, whether that's emotional, practical, spiritual, physical, in all possible ways. So those are all the messages I'm seeing for you today. Thank you so much for sticking with me through this reading. If any of that resonated, please like, share, and subscribe. And I hope to see you here again in the future. Bye. Hi, and welcome to anyone who picked group number 4, which was the sodalite crystal. So before I get into the reading, I just want to muse a little bit on what this question of what is my purpose really means. So what is purpose? I also will just mention that I'll start the reading off by looking at some general energies that are affecting this so-called purpose in your life for the next year. I'll look at some specific areas of your life potentially that might be iterated, might be pointed to. I wrote down some words I heard and felt right before this reading on some strips of paper. And then we'll get into the tarot, and then we'll look at some more advice and just other oracle cards. So yeah, before doing any of that, what is purpose? How do we define purpose? We might often think of it as something that we are inherently programmed to do, something that we're called to do, our highest calling, something that is meant for us, that it is fated for us to do. It is our highest reason for existing here on earth. It is the thing that we should be doing, that we should be investing the most energy into in this lifetime, right? But of course, it is all of that, and that's a very important part of it. But purpose is also the way, I was just thinking about it this way, the way we react to certain situations and energies coming into our life, and how we make the very best of them, or just how we make the most of them, how we complete our karmic lessons. And karmic does not necessarily have to be negative. I just want to say that a lot of the time the word karmic is used with quite negative connotations in the spiritual world, on YouTube and so on and so forth. But it is just how we integrate certain lessons, how we learn to react to certain things in our life, and how we use our reactions to those energies to our very best benefit, okay? The other thing I want to mention before we go on is, in my opinion, the North Node and South Node astrology are not perhaps talked about them enough. And a lot of those of us who are maybe used to astrology and who know all our placements and who can, you know, listen to funny TikToks about that make fun of astrology and so on, might not know the North Node and the South Node. And actually, when looking at a chart, the North Node is one of the most important aspects of a chart, because it is the placement that indicates highest purpose in this lifetime, right? So the North and the South Node are going to be in signs that are opposite of each other astrologically. So the idea behind them is that if you believe in past lives, or the idea that somehow your soul was surrounded by some sort of energy, or that there's some sort of inner or inherent or any kind of attached energy to your soul somewhere outside of this planet or outside of this lifetime in any sort of way. The idea is that the sign that rules your South Node, well, all of the characteristics associated with that sign are going to be things that come very natively to you in this lifetime. Things that you already have developed, things that are kind of second nature to you and how you first react to things, right? So, and your North Node is going to be the sign that you're prompted to develop in this lifetime. It is your purpose to develop those characteristics. So for someone who has, for example, if I can think of something, who has a Capricorn South Node, and who, meaning that they have a Cancer North Node, well, their tendency is to think about things and structures that are very concrete and very physical, very materially oriented. It's about creating or enjoying or manifesting power out of structures, whereas Cancer is also interested in structures and stability, but approaches it in a very different way, in a very emotionally based way, in a very nurturing way. So that person's purpose in this lifetime would be to develop that kind of more private side of themselves, the more emotional, more inward, more intimate side to them. This is just a very crude summary of it, just what's coming to my mind improvisationally at the moment. So this is just to say that if you don't know your North and South Nodes, please take a look at that. Do your birth chart. One really good website to do it is Astro-Charts. That's one of my favorites. It shows you all sorts of placements, including asteroids, so on. Maybe pause the video, do that really quickly now, and read the description for what it means to have a certain sign in your North Node. Maybe do that after this video, whatever feels right for you. Okay, so all of that said, let's get into the reading. Before I get into the tarot, I'm going to pull those energies, what main astrological or otherwise energies are affecting or surrounding you and embracing this purpose for this year, for 2021. Or if you're watching this at a different time outside of this year, this video is also meant to find you, so keep on watching because it is still relevant. Right, so what energies are affecting you the most? They're meant to embrace your purpose for this year. Let me get out of the way. What are the most prominent energies in your life right now? There's one card. Third house, messages. Okay. Okay. Black Moon Lilith. Mystery. Wow. Hello, that's a very strong one. Capricorn I use. And let's get just one more. Too many cards. This pile is slightly different in energies than the other ones. Feels a little bit more pointy in some sort of way. Very kind of angular energy. Hello. And Grand Cross Provoker. Okay. Wow. You know what? I'm going into further. I'm going to roll the some dice I have. Before I do that, let me look at the Grand Cross Provoker. Yeah. So if you have any Grand Crosses in your chart, this is also why it's always helpful to do your chart and to look at all the aspects, which looks like a square, right? It looks like this. If you have any Grand Crosses in your chart, I also suggest you take a look at those. But before I get into all of these things, I'm gonna roll these astrological dice to see which specific areas of your life or area those energies are inflecting themselves in. I knew Aquarius was going to come up. My God, did I know it? Because I was just going to say, as many of you probably know, if you've watched other tarot videos, or if you follow astrology, if you follow what has been happening, there was a very important shift, as some call it a paradigm shift, starting on December 21st on the solstice, and where Saturn and Jupiter were conjunct in Aquarius, right, bringing on the so-called age of the Aquarius, right, after passing out of the age of Pisces. Okay, so the way I'm seeing this message unfold for you, because just I knew, like, when I saw Lilith and Provoker together, I knew this had to do with being someone who kind of marches to their own drumbeat. So in this year, and I feel that this of course extends beyond just this year, but this year particularly, you are meant to embrace this your unique voice, because third house and messages is coming forth here. I'm also getting the sense that this has a lot to do with, for some of you, activism and speaking on behalf of others in ways you think are positive and nurturing for the world. We also have the moon here, so that means that this Sagittarian, well, this Aquarian energy, as often it does in its exalted and positive connotations, it's always about service, public service, and service for the greater good, and holds bigger wholes and communities. So for a lot of you, this means, and you know what, I'm just gonna pull, because I feel like I haven't done this for other piles, but I just want to pull an oracle card right now to see what is the energy that you're most meant to embrace this year. What is this Aquarian? There's too many cards. I'm gonna reshuffle that. I just want one, not 4 or 7 or 3. What is the energy that you're meant to embrace? What does all of this relate to? Okay, well, that's still a lot of cards. I'm just gonna pick one. I'm just gonna cut the deck. Sometimes that happens. Messages are so eager to come out that there's just too many of them, and I want to focus on one specifically. Okay, so, oh wow, the Death card. It's a very beautiful version of it. Okay, so basically you're meant to bring forth, yeah, the death of an old way of thinking, of an old paradigm, and we have movement on the bottom of the deck. So moving towards moving in a different direction socially and spiritually, and otherwise I say spiritually because there's the 9th house represented here, which is ruled by Sagittarius, which is all about just higher, more spiritual and esoteric knowledge and learning with a much higher calling in mind. It's a very North Nodian energy, Sagittarius is that. And because we have Capricorn here, the idea I'm getting here is that these energies, which might feel, because the Grand Cross is an energy that's about tension, it's about areas of yourself or your life, or for some reason I'm getting that this has more to do with social situations and social configurations and holes and relations in your life, and maybe some of the affiliations that you have to certain groups and communities. It's about an energy that's in conflict, right? So it's represented by the 9 of Wands in the tarot, so it's an energy about defending, right? So you might I'm really getting the sense that a lot of you are activists here, or protectors in some sort of way, or just people who, individuals who shake structures and who unsettle accepted norms that might not be working anymore. And because Capricorn is here, getting 2 main things out of this is that first, you're working to dismantle some of these old structures and energies, and whereas this might not have been possible before, even of course over the past year we've seen so many turbulent changes that still happened despite everyone being in isolation and supposedly, but it's about now it is a more concrete time for you to be able to instrumentalize these changes that you want to bring forth. And yeah, you know, I'm not viewing Capricorn here as so very much opposed to Aquarius. I'm seeing it in this way where, going back to that grand conjunction between Saturn and Jupiter in Aquarius, I'm viewing it as more the energy that's usually stable and worldly and very much of the earth and invested in old structures and institutions is now somehow aligned with the energy that's all about otherworldliness and structures that are new and that are aligned with some of the most advanced innovations here present today and the most forward-moving ideas. And because these energies are aligned right now, it is very possible for you to bring forth these changes that you are meant to bring forth and to shake up and, I don't want to say dismantle structures, but that's kind of what I'm getting here. Dismantle structures and also just instigate some sort of doubt and change and positive turbulence, I want to put it, so that the things that are there and are thought of to be meant to be there but are actually harmful can be going on their way nicely in ways that are nurturing for the world, because again we have that moon. This is a change for the better. It's a revolutionary change for the better. And with Black Moon Lilith, Lilith, if you don't know who Lilith is, right, she is the first woman, right? She is one of the darker divine feminine goddesses. She is an energy who is all about independence. So if you associate with feminine energy and you view yourself as this kind of, the reason I picked this deck, I pulled that extra oracle card for you, is that I was expecting this one specific card would show up, which was the outlaw. I associate that kind of energy with Lilith and with being someone who just does not give a damn about structures and norms and expectations for whether that's a specific gender role, sexual orientation. That's very much, those are very, very much indicated here, or whether that has to do with wider social structures. And that is someone who sticks to their truth and who speaks truth even when it's the most uncomfortable, even when it will provoke backlash, or it will provoke some sort of intense opposition. Yeah, I will see if anything comes up, anything extra comes up about Lilith, but that's, I feel this message very strongly. It's kind of like in my solar plexus chakra. Someone who is a very powerful, expressive being. I'm getting the sense that a lot of you associate with this energy, and with this lunar energy we have both the moon and the black moon here. Okay, so that's very important, and I just feel like I have to dwell on that a little bit. The other message I'm getting with that, because I'm dwelling on it now, is for those of you who have felt like maybe you have been used, especially for those of you again who associate with feminine energy, right? Lilith is the scorned woman. Supposedly that's the negative way that society has thought about her, right? Because she was the first wife of Adam, right? And she did not want to submit to him, and she was cast out of heaven for that, and she chose Lucifer. Funny, I'm just watching the show Lucifer right now, so I have different associations with Lucifer. Those things, maybe that was meant for me to say, probably not. Let's just have a fun moment right now. Anyway, but the message I'm getting here is that maybe you have felt in the past used, not only as a feminine associating force, but for anyone who has felt used for who they are, who felt that their energy or their identity was somehow instrumentalized for someone else's negative gain, or I guess I shall say detrimental gain. And it is time for you to reclaim that energy. And it is also, the message I'm getting is that you are safe and no longer have to associate. You don't have to let yourself be affected by this energy anymore. This energy is able to end now. And whenever you feel drained or maybe even attacked by others who don't have your best interest in mind, and you feel that, you can always cut energetic cords. It feels very strong for me to say this right now. So let's see what this purpose for you this year is. I'm getting some pretty clear messages here of what it is, but let's see how it specifically is coming about and what you're meant to embrace about it. What is your purpose for 2021? The Fool. Ace of Pentacles. Nice, very clear messages here. Yeah. How are you called to embrace your purpose this year? And oh my goodness, I just realized I forgot to pull the little strips of paper. I'll just go ahead and do that in a little second. After I just pull these cards, well, okay, those wanted to, oh my goodness, every single reading, the Seven of Pentacles has shown up, and now I'm pretty sure I know exactly what that card means. So what, yeah, this is very interesting. So what are you, how are you called to embrace your purpose this year? And let me just adjust these cards so that you see them better. Okay. How are you called to embrace your purpose in 2021 or whenever you're watching this for next year from now? That's too many cards. Well, okay. Every single shuffle for you guys has been so violent. So let's just take all of these, you know. Knight of Swords. And the Sun. That's such a beautiful ending to those. And let's see this extra message at the bottom. Yeah. The World, Five of Cups and Eight of Cups. Okay. Seems like an extra message that wanted to come out. Or these cards. Okay. All right. So before I go on, let me pull those strips of paper. Pretty sure I know what this relates to, but let's just see if any specific areas of your life are highlighted here in relation to the purpose of those who picked group number 4. How is this being highlighted in there? That's way too many. Well, okay. First one that just opened by itself is music. Interesting. This one's here, so I'll take it. Friendship. Wonderful. Okay. And I'll take 2 more. Art and money. Okay. Wow. Interesting. Interesting. So yeah, before I read into the tarot, let me just go over those a little bit, just very briefly. So it seems to me that besides this very prominent group that I'm sensing is in some way involved in enacting social change of some sort, or recreating paradigms, or helping recreate paradigms, or working to dismantle structures or social relations that are harmful to the world, or that are just outdated, or that feel like they are less beneficial than they used to be. Let's just put it that way, slightly more neutrally. Besides that group, there's also a lot of you, and maybe this is also maybe some of these groups overlap. Some very artistic individuals here. I'm an artist myself, a musician, so I really resonate with this, but you've got both art and music. So this message is really, really reinforced here. And you also got money and friendships. The way I'm viewing these is that there are a few messages coming through here. First is that this year you're actually opportunities are opening up, or doors are opening up for you to be able to turn your art or your music or your creative projects into some sort of monetary gain, or into some sort of structure that creates stability for you, or that where you're recognized both for your unique artistic voice or vision, because messages came through, right? So that's very prominent with someone, a lot of maybe singers here, where you're able to turn those things and not just do them on the side, or not just, you know, think of them as dreams that you are not going to invest in. Although I'm not getting the sense of that for those of you in this group. You're not those who are just sweet daydreamers, who just let things go and let everything up to chance, leave everything up to chance, right? You get a lot of Scorpio energy here with this card too. A lot of maybe feminine Scorpio energy, kind of being that very edgy artist. I'm thinking here for some reason of Lorde, the singer. Don't know why, that just came to mind. But anyway, the idea of art and music combining to, or just manifesting in ways that are actually worldly. And I'm also getting the sense that you are part of this very fulfilling community, this beautiful, friendly community that supports these dreams of yours. And if you don't feel that way right now, then that is what you're meant to be part of, and that it is coming into your life, it is manifesting in your life, this community. Although again, I feel like a lot of you are already kind of in the situation, aren't connected in the situation. That's just a confirmation of that. So and maybe for those of you who have tried to make something work with art and music, and to maybe make a living out of that, or at least be recognized concretely for the beautiful, unique work that you do. Maybe for some of the messages that in order to make that happen, you need to seek out this community, or to kind of start manifesting that community and believing that it is possible for you to be part of that group. But again, I'm sensing that a lot of you don't spend too much time second guessing your worth, or second guessing your ability to create this change, or to make the structures that you need to have in order to have all of this happen. So now let's get into the tarot. Take another sip of water. So, and yeah, you know, for a lot of you who are artists, it seems that your art is very much edgy, very, just very bold, and it is meant to provoke your audience. It is meant to be a little bit shocking. And you might change this in the future, but right now it is right for you to take on that shocking artistic role. It's also what I'm getting because of that provoker. And lo and behold, at the very bottom of the deck, we have the Nine of Wands, which is represented by the provoker card here. So we get further emphasis on, you know, two messages coming through here. One is that it is good to be so strong-spoken, and to be so clear in your message and in your vision and in your uniqueness and identity, expression of identity. And you are meant to do this right now, at least for the foreseeable future. You are meant to express this very strong opinion and voice, and so on and so forth. And it is going to get you lots of success, because we have Six of Wands here coming up next. And you have all the potential to make this happen. Again, I have no doubt that a lot of you are manifestors here, right? But the other message I'm getting is that long term, after you feel you've fulfilled this purpose to be this outspoken, sort of, you know, non-conformist, more long term, it's also going to be important to remember to take care of yourself, and remember that you don't always have to be so outspoken. That after a certain while, when you've set into motion either the kind of social change that you desire to set into motion, or when you've already kind of established a certain image of yourself as this sort of maybe artistic warrior or a social warrior, It is also okay to take a more soft-spoken role, or let's put it a different way. It's also okay to just trust that the things you've stirred in motion will still be there, and now you're actually just able to be to just allow yourself to engage in activities that are also more healing for yourself as well as for others. Sometimes change is also enacted in less direct ways, in more quiet ways that can be healing rather than dismantling, right? Because the main tension I'm getting here is between, right, the moon represented by Cancer and black moon Lilith. So the light moon and the black moon. I also for some reason I want to tell you all that to look at your moon and black moon placements, because I think your what is it, your white moon and your black moon placements, your Serena, I think it was Serena or Celine, I think it was Serena. Was it Serena? Anyway, just Google white moon and black moon, and you can also calculate those placements of yours. Everyone has a Lilith placement and a true Lilith placement, and also this Celine, I want to say. One of those two names for the white moon. And the white moon is kind of like the higher level version of your black moon placement. So whatever purpose you have that's connected to your black moon, the white moon does it at an even higher level. So after you go through some of the more, I guess, violent processes at this initial level, then you can get into the white moon placements and focus on fulfilling that level of your purpose. And sometimes I think a lot of people have conjunction between just their normal moon and their white moon. But anyway, I'll stop talking about that. Getting into the actual tarot energies here on the desk, and we'll leave that extra message as an enforcement message for last. We have the Fool here, and this Fool in this deck looks like, yeah, they're kind of wearing either a dorky or edgy little outfit there, depending on how you want to think about it. And they're just kind of plunging forward. They're just moving forward because they know that they can bring forth the physical manifestation of this thing that they are envisioning, and it is the right time for you to do that now. It might have felt like it was not the right time before this entire year, because we have the Seven of Pentacles here, right? Felt like you've had to put on hold some of your work this past year, and some of this progress and this Ace of Pentacles progress towards creating this structure that you most want to create, or towards working on your art in this way that brings about the most fulfillment and recognition. And with the Six of Pentacles here, let me see. Between these two cards, I'm just wondering what it means. You have lots of pentacle energy, right? So Ace, 6, and 7. This is the second time I see a 6 and 7 in a row in this particular reading. Actually, the main message I'm getting with this, yeah, this card indicates that you might receive something that aids you in this process, in your purpose or in your goals this year, I want to say. But it is also a card that indicates humanitarianism and you giving to others, but it's also, I think, on the higher level, this balance of energy, right, between helping others or investing in communities, in very non-conformist communities, in ways that are healing, and also in ways that are, as we were talking about before, that are so set on creating change and positive turbulence, right? So the main challenge for you is going to be how to balance between those energies, right? So if we're talking about a protest, for example, and that's a very, relevant thing right now to talk about in early January 2021. I'm just going to say that and not say more about it. It's also, goodness, if you were to participate in a protest for the betterment of society, let's say, hopefully, it's important to have your voice heard, and to create change, and to create some sort of yeah, that positive turbulence thing, right? That's how I'm going to put it. But also, it's equally important to have people in the community who are there to tend to the emotional and spiritual and physical needs of those who are involved in doing that kind of work, or in those who are surrounded by that kind of experience, who might not be benefiting from the turbulence of that moment. So it's about balancing those two forces, right? Now, I'm not going to say much more in detail about that because then I'm going to get too specific, and I don't want to, but I think a lot of you are getting the sense of what I'm trying to say. With the Knight of Swords, this just further reinforces that you have this very clear message. Right now, a lot of you, I think, if you think about it, what is the main thing you want to put out into the world? I think you have a statement, like a statement of purpose, an elevator pitch. I know I'm using weirdly academic metaphors here, but you have a thing, a statement that is yours, that captures your mission, right? And this card is about finding ways to communicate that might be a little bit more tactful. So with a lot of us who are convinced of the veracity of our beliefs and of the fact that we're wanting to create social change for the better and so on, the tendency might be to be very violent, or not violent, but just very, very loud in our expression of these things. But, you know, do you want to win the battle or the war? So with that 6 of Wands there, yes, you are going to win some of these battles, right? But in order to enact kind of long-term change, sometimes the best thing to do is to be a little bit strategic and to leave any extraneous passion whatsoever, or any extraneous shock. If you're an artist or anything, just for the sake of it, just leave behind, just trim it a little bit, in order so that you gain just a better exposure at first, so that you are actually heard towards the all the way through with what you have to say, so that others don't shut you down or just turn off their ears simply because of your tone, for example, or simply because of how invested you seem to be in it. Sometimes the best thing to do, and here's a little bit of a political way of thinking about things, is to actually strategize and be a little bit calculated, right? This Capricornian energy. How can you best instrumentalize this thing that you have to say, so that it reaches people in the correct way, so that it actually enacts the change that you want? And it's very wonderful to see the sun here at the end of your reading, because all of these goals that you have, these changes that you're envisioning, they are going to happen. It's so clear. It's very much fated, and it is part of your purpose to help enact this change, right? Just remember that sometimes, you know, the rays of the sun, they fall on something, but that doesn't mean that everything is illuminated. So while it looks like a victory, while something looks like a victory, there's always some sort of sacrifice involved in victory. So it's also about tending to those parts that are being sacrificed, and making sure that those who might not be celebrating with you in that specific moment are also being tended to and nurtured and cared for, because maybe they have a different sort of sets of needs, even those I'm hearing in the same community as you. Yeah. And with this extra message here, I think half or 3 of these readings in this 3 of these decks in this reading, these piles have had the World as well. So the end of a cycle, the beginning of a new one. That much is very much obvious. And the extra message is just this thing reiterated from the sun. Yeah, moving in this new direction is obviously a positive change when it's a sort of paradigm shift that's as powerful as the one we're experiencing right now astrologically and so on. But with some of that, there's always some sort of sacrifice and disappointment maybe to be tended, and some sort of wound with so much 9 of Wands energy. There's, yeah, you know, this person's defending their you know, they have built their wall and they're defending it now, but you know, he's always wounded in whatever deck, right? So tending to that wound after having done the work and having won and having a sort of victory, and moving towards, again with the moon here, so much lunar energy, so emphasized, looking towards the moon as this sort of more healing energy rather than dismantling energy, looking forward towards the future in a way where you actually invest energies and try to manifest a sort of society or situation, or maybe artistic pottery or so on, that does not necessarily even need to create any sort of turbulent change, because it's actually, it just comes about in a more flowing way. And the way that's going to happen is if you kind of acknowledge both sides of the equations, both the sacrifices and the victories that go into achieving goal of this kind and being part of such a purpose. Okay, so the last part of this reading, I'm just gonna get into some oracle cards for advice for you. And you know what, I'm just gonna start with a different deck. So what is their advice for you for going about fulfilling this purpose for 2021, for the next year, from whenever you're watching this? Cards are really jumping out for y'all. Never-ending story. Fork in the road, yin and observer. Very interesting. Reiterating some of the things I was talking about, and let's pick something from a different deck. What is the advice? Okay. Okay, so now I'm inspired to go back to that initial message I had for you, which was that if you ever felt used by someone based on your identity or based on who you are, maybe excluded based on your identity and so on, you have the possibility to stop the cycle that you've experienced maybe several times in your life, to not have to go through that ever again, really. And that is by getting stuck out of this constantly rotating cycle, right? This circuitous thing, and just simply exiting that loop with this fork in the road. That just means just choosing a different direction in which to send your energy, so that you're no longer stuck in this sort of sphere where you're accessible to those who might use you or who might come back expecting that you would be in the same energy, and therefore that you would be accessible to being treated in the same way. It's about simply just finding a way to exit that loop, and that's the first message I'm getting. And the second message is yin and observer. So yeah, if basically everyone here is a yang energy, either inherently or naturally, you're very natively, or as a result of certain things that have happened in your life that have kind of forced you to be in that yang energy of like, oh, you know, in order to protect myself, I must act first. I must be on the offensive. Being in yin energy, you know, that thing that I was talking about, cultivating that more nurturing, just gentle energy, is actually gonna get you out of that loop. For those of you who felt that you were at some point in that situation, sometimes just fighting constantly back and forth is going to get you nowhere. The fight is never going to end. But the strongest thing to do, or the most effective thing to do, is just to drop out completely in a sort of, not to concede or anything, but just to go a little bit inward. And to just, when you feel like you have to constantly fight, just to leave it in the hands of whatever energies you believe are acting towards your best. And to also actually use simply your observation skills to notice what is really, really happening here, to be an objective observer and hearing, rather than someone who has such a clear mission. Sometimes to distance yourself a little bit from that is healthy, because you get to see the even bigger picture of what you're dealing with, and to figure out a way where that loop can be broken. Right, so with the stuck in the mud energy here, that message is just reiterated. Sometimes this constant back and forth, this constant fighting, this constant forcefulness in moving forward might not actually get you anywhere. So embracing that inner yin energy will allow you to just fly over these obstacles, rather than, it's almost like a shortcut, like a wrinkle in time, right? Where you're just, instead of taking that, trudging through that long, difficult way, just simply working with energy. And we have the card Into the Unknown, right? So more kind of like scorpionic energy, a little bit more, yeah, just energy that has to do with the unseen, right? So working with things not from the bottom up, but from the top down, actually energetically setting those intentions. For some of you, I'm hearing doing some sort of magic rituals. Be careful. And just letting those things come to you and attracting those realities, rather than being so forceful in creating them that you sometimes forget to tend to your own wounds, which always come about when you're working so hard towards a paradigm shift, or towards expressing such a unique vision. All right, so those are all the messages I have for you. Thank you so much for watching. If any of that resonated with you, please like, share, and subscribe. And I hope to see you here again soon. Bye.